Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Artists of Color. And today, my guests are Seychelle Dunn, Adrienne Baker, Anthony Green, Ashleigh Gordon, and I am Elaine Hall-Corbin, your host. Thank you for joining us today, and I want to thank my guests. First, I want to say my guests are the founders, the presenters, I call them the historians as far as I'm concerned, of Castle of Our Skins, better known as Coos. And I met Ashleigh back in December at the Northeastern Crossing, which is a new community organization that's partnering with the city of Boston and Northeastern, where they have space for the community to come in and use this space and to do all kinds of events, to have conferences. But at this particular time, Northeastern Crossing was doing their holiday opening. And I walked in and I heard this music. And I said, oh, well, where's it coming from? And then I saw this little group over there in the corner playing away, and I said, okay, I want to know who they are. And I got to meet Ashleigh first, and we kind of talked for a minute. And then she went back to playing her cello. And I thought that was absolutely fantastic.
Viola.
See, I blew that. It was a viola. My fault. But it was a great concert. And I want to know more about them. So actually, Ashleigh was on my show with me last month, promoting a concert that they did at the Roxbury Y. It was called Edutainment. And I was there for that. And that was absolutely fantastic. I loved it. I really did. Now, what I'd like to begin with is asking Seychelle. Let's start with you.
Hey.
Hi, hon. Tell me, how did you get involved with Castle of Our Skins?
Oh, that's actually an easy one. I knew a friend of mine who was at BU who was performing on the very first concert that Castle of Our Skins had presented probably, I think, 2 years ago it was, through Patrick Daly, who was, I think, the narrator for that concert. And so I went because I was completely like, I have to go to this concert and hear what they're about and see what they're doing. And from there, Patrick, I think, introduced me to Anthony, and I connected with Anthony, and then I met Ashleigh, and then that was pretty much it. That was how it all started.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So what is your role?
I am the Director of Educational Programming.
And exactly, even though it's educational programming, what do you do in that respect?
Well, I primarily am working on creating a curriculum now for Castle of Our Skins so that we can offer some multi-day workshops. We currently have Ella Scats the Little Lamb, which is a workshop that I do with beginning scat singing, and we also have another workshop called A Little History, which Ashleigh performs as well. But we try to create these workshops that are interactive educational experiences for children, for teenagers, for adults, for anybody we can hopefully connect with in the community.
Wow. Now, in doing that, do you promote? Well, I shouldn't say promote, that's actually not what I mean. Do you have whatever the audience is or whoever you're working with for whatever workshop, do they have ideas that you guys work off of when you're doing the programs, or do you just have the curriculum is just set and you go from there?
Well, right now we're still in the developing stages of having these multi-day workshops in the curriculum that will incorporate for that. They'll probably be age level based, so we have a general idea of where we want each workshop to be in terms of what curriculum topics and materials we'll be teaching with each kid. But for our current one-day workshops that we offer, Ella Scats the Little Lamb primarily, which I can speak about because that's the one that I perform. I have performed that for all age ranges, and I think of my workshop when I go in is a guideline. So for me, the workshop guidelines work with any age in terms of how we're going to experience scat singing and connect to the legacy of Ella Fitzgerald. So I have done this workshop with adults, I have done this workshop with pre-K, I've done this workshop with like 10-year-olds, and it's never the same. As well, it shouldn't be, because it's an art.
Different.
It's going to be different with each person that I come across with. So I think it's really important for us, and when we ever talk about educational programming, is that we're able to tap into the community that we're working with, into how they are experiencing the art. So we want to be able to kind of guide that experience for them as they are connecting to these Black composers or poets that we're able to share and bring with them.
Are you a scat artist yourself?
I am not. I'm a saxophonist. And I also play piano, and I don't know how long I've been teaching voice and choir, which is weird because I play the saxophone. But when I was in school, it doesn't matter what instrument you play, you do have to have some ability with singing and understanding how the voice works, because we all have voices. So regardless of being a scat singer, a jazz singer, opera singer, even if I'm still talking, there are things happening in my throat that I need to know about. And so I kind of have that foundation with singing as well.
That's beautiful. Wow. Now see, I've got to know a little bit about you, a little bit more about you than I knew when we first met.
Oh,
you
yes.
know? Talented, talented, talented. Adrienne?
Hello.
Hello, how are ya?
I'm good.
Good. And what is your role?
My role is Director of Community Engagement and Outreach. I joined COOS very recently. I'm the newest here. I joined in about July, August-ish. The way that I met these lovely folks was through, I played the flute. A previous flute player that had been involved as part of the COOS collective of musicians who was moving. He got a really, really good opportunity out in Portland, and he was moving, and I came to the Oh Freedom concert and saw what they were doing, and it's very much in line with my drive to be a community-minded musician. I just saw an opportunity there and called Ash. My friend had put us in contact with each other and just asked, what can I do to be a part of this? And that was that.
Now, what you said you're into community engagement, that's your role?
Yes.
So what do you do? How do you engage the community?
So my role actually overlaps a little bit with Seychelle's, going out into the community, finding spaces where we can play, spaces where classical music is less accessible, or giving music to folks where they otherwise wouldn't be exposed to it. Older folks who perhaps can't make it to a BSO concert, or children who they don't have that exposure, looking for those places to be able to find those partners that will work with us and bring us in, to expose them to classical music and to these Black composers, to their legacy and their history.
Do you like working with and engaging the community? Do you find it hard? Do you find it rewarding?
I do find it rewarding, and the funny thing is it's an acquired skill.
Yes, it is.
For me, I'm a naturally introverted person, but I really love helping people and helping them find their voice.
Okay.
And so in helping them find their voice has helped me really find my own.
That's beautiful. That is great. See, I like that. I can see this is going to be a great conversation. Anthony.
Hello.
Anthony is the co-founder of Castle of Our Skins. And this is the first time Anthony and I have met.
Yes.
As well as Adrienne. But my other two here, we've met. But Anthony, tell us a little bit about you.
Yes, so my official role with Castle of Our Skins is the Associate Artistic Director. Okay. And along with this lovely, lovely artistic director here, we are responsible for some of the less poetic aspects of running an organization, such as finding grants, finding funding, finding artists, finding spaces, things like that. But outside of that, both Ash and I have had the privilege of developing this organization and developing this mission, representing this mission to a myriad of different people. We give house concerts, we've performed at assisted living facilities.
You didn't tell me that.
Yeah, and we've done work, as you know, with children.
Yeah.
And we strongly believe that when you plant those seeds at a young age, they will grow and become beautiful, beautiful flowers. And hopefully those flowers will get this message that Black composers exist, this music exists, all composers can tap into Black artistry for inspiration, because we need more of that in the world, I think.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. And before I ask this question, I'm going to talk to my buddy over here.
Yes.
Hey. Hey, hon. I know you were here last month, and we talked a little bit about you, but I'm sure we have a new audience today. I would like them to know a little bit about Ashleigh Gordon.
Sure. So I am not originally from this area,
That's
but
right.
I definitely consider Boston now my home base. As Anthony had corrected before, I'm a violist, and I originally grew up in Rochester, New York, and came here for school, and very much fell in love with the city. And with Anthony, we met at school, which was the New England Conservatory for our masters, and went on opposite sides of the country and then opposite sides of the Atlantic.
You were not kidding.
Eventually found ourselves again and had very much enjoyed working with one another when we were studying, and wanted to try to find a way where we can continue that collaboration. And that's really how Castle of Erskines started. And for both of us, with very humble beginnings of wanting to explore the music of Black composers, to explore our history, to find a way where we can open our own personal curiosity into the curiosity of other people and encourage other people to be culturally curious about what we're interested in our history. And through that process, we've created, I think, something that's really beautiful and it's really
I think
taking
it's
on.
fantastic.
And so Anthony, he didn't mention before that he's also the composer in residence. And
You didn't tell
so
us that
in
one.
December,
Okay,
in
Anthony.
December when you heard us perform at Northeastern
Yeah.
Crossing, that was music that Anthony had written, and that he
really?
had arranged the Black
Arranged,
Nativity songs that you had mentioned
And
before.
it's interesting because, and it's beautiful. Well, I'm sure you know that Black Nativity is a holiday program that's been done for almost 40 something years.
Yeah.
I know it's going to come down and kill me. But, so I was surprised. I mean, and when I started hearing the music, I mean, I was just right in there. I got the words. People look at me, how do you know that? Don't worry about it. I'm right in there.
Well,
It was beautiful.
My church, I grew up in Providence, Rhode Island, and I
Okay.
attended the Only Street Baptist Church all my life. And I was a part of their mass choir. And we had a mass choir trip to see the Black Nativity.
You did?
So I was exposed to that when I was really young. And our church sang those songs growing up. So
See?
those songs are a
Songs are
part
part
of
of-
me. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
We did too.
Yeah.
And I'm from Charles Street AME,
Yeah.
and then St. Augustine's in the South End.
Excellent.
We sang those songs growing up as children.
Yeah.
I have a question for the two of them again, only because when Ashleigh was on the show last month, and we had conversation, we talked about the museum, the library that you
Did our research.
you did your research.
Right.
And for some strange reason, all I remember is that to a library and it was Black composers, and I was like all
Yes.
excited. Trick was I could not remember the name of the library.
Sure.
So tell us the name of the library, where it is,
Yeah.
if it's still in existence. I know you were saying they were trying to close it.
I think it is still in existence from what I understand. It's under different leadership, but in any case, this is the Center for Black Music Research in Chicago.
Okay.
And we came at such a fortunate time when they actually had a grant that you could apply for to fund your trip. So the two of us went and had a fantastic week, just completely nerding out in the library, 9 to 5 every single day. And this is really the country's only library where you can look through archives, living documents, and certainly historical documents of music of Black composers. The only library really that is dedicated solely to that. So for us, it was an absolutely fantastic opportunity to be able to do that. And some of the composers that we found, some of the music that we research is actually things that you'll hear next Friday in future programming that we'll
Well, I'm going to tell you, right now, we have a little clip of a couple of you guys' shows, and we want to have them shown and hope you guys will tell us afterwards. We have a couple of them.
Sure.
And you can talk about them when we're done. So we are going to have a couple of clips from Castle of Our Skins, and I can't wait. I love them.
And we're gonna do some snapping, okay? So it's a 1, 2, 4, 5. 1, 2, 4, 5. Good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. And he composed different styles of music. If he liked what he heard, then he would use it. In World War II, he fought in the army, then he went to Yale University and to a conservatory. Once he had the time, creativity started flowing, and life is heaven where he was going. He wrote great music, but that's not all. He created a movie about he composed classical music, jazz, and swinging beats, and he inspired today's music of the street. His music can be rough and edgy, but he left Black composers with a great legacy. Always for a good cause.
Angela Davis.
A great woman, yes she was. Angela Davis. An activist in this country.
Angela Davis.
Working towards equality.
Angela Davis.
Even in this modern day.
Angela Davis.
There are things you cannot say.
Angela Davis.
But this woman, yes she fights. Angela Davis. A battle over civil rights.
Well, those were fantastic. I have to say so. I did. They were both good. They were wonderful. What the first clip? Were you teaching?
So both were actually from, as Seychelle had mentioned, from one of our educational workshops that I personally lead, and it's called A Little History. And A Little History is a workshop that has original music and poetry written by Anthony Green.
Yeah, I saw.
Each little movement, there were 2 movements that you saw. Each little movement talks about a different figure in Black history. So the first one was Ed Bland, who is a composer, a personal inspiration for Anthony, which he can talk about if you want.
Please, yeah.
So when I was growing up, I was a pianist, and I always thought all my life I would be this fantastic pianist, and I would play concerti. Of course, that's not what life had in store for me, and I'm I'm completely okay with that. But when I was growing up, I did not know Black composers. I wasn't exposed to them. I didn't hear their music. I always knew about Scott Joplin, but everybody else besides Scott Joplin, the Ollie Wilson, Alvin Singleton, T.J. Anderson, Trevor Weston, all of these wonderful Black composers, I had no clue existed. And in the library, Rochambeau Public Library, right around the corner from where I grew up in Providence, I came across this CD from a pianist named Althea Waits. And on this CD was music from Black composers. A sonata by Florence Price, Troubled Water by Margaret Bonds, which I've played with Castle Varskins in various presentations, and this amazing modern piano suite by Ed Bland. And I've always been naturally drawn to modern music, contemporary, cutting-edge music. So when I heard this, I just thought, this is somebody that I can really connect to. This is my hero. Unfortunately, he passed away in 2013, and I never got a chance to meet him. But I've been in conversation with his wife.
Oh, wonderful.
And
that's a good thing.
that actually reminds me, I need to email her and tell her that I'm thinking about Ed Bland because it's March, and he passed away in March.
Okay.
Yes. So I plan on learning the pieces that I heard on this CD and performing them with Castle Varskins in the future.
Oh, that is marvelous. And now I have to say, there was one thing when I first heard you all back in December, I had no idea that there were Black composers except for Scott Joplin.
Yeah.
I had no idea there were orchestra composers. Like, really? And then when you did the performance at the Y,
The YMCA, yeah.
and you had all of these different composers.
I'm writing for our June 4th concert, and the piece that I'm writing is called "Oh Freedom." It's for flute, viola, and cello, and the whole thing has influences from classical music, from slave songs, from Negro spirituals, from civil rights movement songs, and, of course, from the quintessential song, "Oh Freedom." And I wanted to play a little bit of "Oh Freedom" for you, the way that I am using it in the piece, also along with my modern flair. Hope you enjoy.
Quite interesting. I like your rendition.
Thank you.
I
Thank you.
really do. Yeah, as a matter of fact, you remind me of a pianist that I knew. He was my father-in-law.
Oh.
And he was absolutely fantastic. And he also graduated from the Conservatory of Music.
Excellent.
You know, he was one of the first African Americans to go there.
Wow.
And he graduated from there.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So that was like, wow.
Yeah.
See, I'm listening to you, and I was listening to you play, and it just kind of like made me think of him.
Excellent.
You know,
Excellent. That's a beautiful thought.
because he was fantastic.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We were having a discussion before that, but that was okay. We got to hear, we got to see, and I got to know. But you were talking about Mr. Bland.
Mm-hmm.
So you were saying that you have other pieces of his work that you're going to be working on playing.
Yes, definitely.
And putting together.
Yes.
Well, we're going to talk more about that shortly. We're going to go for a break. Well, everyone, thank you for being with us for the first half of our show, but we will be right back to Artists of Color. Good afternoon and welcome back to Artists of Color. Thank you for being with us this afternoon. And my guests are and have been Seychelle Dunn, Adrienne Baker, all of a sudden I'm forgetting names here, Anthony Green, and my lovely Ashleigh Gordon. I can't help it. She's my love because I met her first. The rest of you guys have all come in, you all have come in there, at the end. But actually, she's not the end. I met her at the concert.
Yes.
I had no idea. And to find out that she's such a talented young woman. And all of you are so talented. I am very surprised and I'm very glad that we have a program like Castles of Our Skins. Because without it, I don't think I would have known anything about Black composers. I only know one Black composer, but he's a jazz composer, and he passed away in 2001. His name was Ken Makonda McIntyre. And I've been listening to his music for the past 10 years. Like I have you guys now, I have a jazz project, and they're called the Makonda Project. And they do concerts, they do free concerts also around the community in the spring and the summer. So I love that.
In fact, it's interesting you should mention Makonda Project because they were recently awarded a grant from the New England Foundation.
Yes, they were.
And Castle of Our Skins was as well.
You were.
We met them. They had a performance, I think, the other night.
Yeah.
In Roxbury,
in the
Dorchester.
Dudley,
I was there.
In the Dudley Library.
Yes,
yeah.
okay.
I was there.
Good. So
I
yeah.
have never missed a concert in 10 years.
Great.
Excellent,
I was
excellent.
there.
Yes.
But while we were talking, and we did have a couple of slides up, one about you guys, doing your show on the 18th. I'll be there. And I want to talk a little bit, very shortly, about a project that's dear to my heart called Voices of Sisterhood. Voices of Sisterhood is a project that I started back in 2009, where I use visual art and creative writing for women and young girls of the African diaspora, using those tools to work on strengthening their voice and empowering them as women and girls growing up in a community where there's a lot of violence, where their lives are being just so torn apart, and they've got a voice inside them that is so deep down inside that they don't know how to bring it forward and begin to work on their self-esteem, their healing, and to become better community leaders, better parents, better human beings. And I was doing research a few years back, and during my research, I remembered that creative writing and in a different form and art is something that our foreparents, our ancestors used to work with villages. And they don't do that anymore. That part hasn't been carried on. And when I just woke up one night in the middle of the night and this thought came to my mind. I said I needed to do a project like that because I see the difference in our young women. I see the difference in our older women and our young women, that they're so disconnected, and the wisdom of the ages back, and even the wisdom from when I was a child, is not there. Our women and girls are not able to connect with each other and to be able to mentor. I remember as a child growing up that I lived on Wambeck Street. I was where I was raised, right here in Roxbury, and I could only go to the corner, one part of the corner of my street. If I went further than that, people used to see my mom going to work every day. So if I went past that spot, I'd get caught. I got caught twice. And the elders on my street told me, I know you, I know your mom, I see your mom every day, and I know she don't want you down here. And I got in trouble for that. But we didn't sass our elders, no matter whether we knew them by name or not. And it's that connection that needs to happen again. There needs to be wisdom brought out. Our women and girls need to connect. And I'm not saying we just learn from the elders. Elders can learn from the young ones too. And that's the connection. So Voices of Sisterhood is an intergenerational program. And we're going to be having it. We're starting our first 4-week series this coming Saturday at the Dudley Square Library from 12 to 3:30 that afternoon. So I can't wait. And if anybody has seen the information, come down and join us. Again, I'm Elaine Hall-Corbin. Besides being the producer here, I'm also the executive director of this particular program. So come and join us this coming Saturday. We'd love to have as many women and girls as we can get. So thank you, and have a good day. And I'm back to my buddies. Since we were talking about this, Ashleigh and I had a conversation about my women's project. And we talked about possibly you guys partnering with me, with our program, to bring art, to bring music, orchestra music and culture to the women of my project. And I thought that was wonderful. I got really excited about that. Because you all do different types, different programs within the community, and you work with not only young people, but you work with elders, you work with teens. If you were to do a women's program like this, and it's multi-generational, can you tell me how would that work for you all?
Well, what we had brainstormed as Anthony is a composer was to tap into the resources that you already have, which are creative writing and arts. So working with the women, working with the girls to create their own poem, and then possibly working with the artist to illustrate that poem, a cover, if you will, for the book, or something that speaks to them visually, and then to be able to highlight some of the poems, the words in the poem musically, and that would be where Anthony would come in, and then have a performance of their own piece, of their own poem, which is certainly representative of themselves, their voice manifested in many different ways, right? Through the poem, through their artwork, as well as through the music. So they would have that experience.
Oh, that would be such a beautiful thing. I would love that. That would be fantastic. Adrienne and Seychelle, tell me what you guys think. Tell me what being all of you being young, but you being young women, what would be your thoughts of how that would work, how I could bring that into, to the program. In other words, you being the outreach person and you being the program director, or am I getting this wrong? Knowing me, I probably am. But, how would you get out there and get that information out and bring folks into the program, or when I say into the program, I'm talking about Castle of Our Skins and bringing that. How would that work on you all then?
I think we may have to, I don't know, we would probably start, what would you do, Adrienne? I don't know.
You see the engagement lady over
Outreach.
Well, as Ash said, we had brainstormed about taking their words and turning them into a book, and then in a concert. And then we really like having concerts that are very interactive, or workshops that are interactive, that allow them to get involved at the time of the performance that's happening. So perhaps something Anthony has composed works. I don't remember what the name of it was. The story.
Oh, Molly the Magnificent.
Molly the Magnificent.
Oh.
I believe, did Molly write the story herself?
A woman named Amalia wrote the story.
Yes, wrote the story, and I believe she performed it herself. She got to speak the story herself to music. So immediately something like this comes to mind. To be able to actually get them involved, to be able to actually display their voice and their tone and their tenor to the words that they're sharing.
Okay. I like that. I like that because when I'm listening to you, I have one of my associates who's not here with me today, Miss Margie. She is my creative writing instructor, and she's fantastic at this. She's been doing it for over 30 years. And we had talked about this like maybe a couple of years ago, but not in the depth that you and I have. And you've talked to Anthony about it, and the rest of you guys coming together behind that. But we were thinking at some point in time before you and I met that putting together, taking the art and the writings and putting them together in a book, and we would always have to go with what the women would want to share with the public. And so we're very mindful of that, because our Voices of Sisterhood, besides being a project, is I always wanted to be a safe place for the women and girls to come and be able to share their hearts and and strengthen their voices. And that's an important part for me as far as the program is concerned. But I would like to go back to Castle of Our Skins, and I want y'all to tell me about what's going to go on the 18th.
Sure. Well, talking so candidly about your program, which features the voices of women, and certainly with your creative team and the poetry of women. Next week, Friday, the 18th at 7:30 at Roxbury Community College, just down the street, we are going to be taking poems by Black poets, those who are living and those who are certainly historical, Langston Hughes, Georgia Douglas, Johnson, for instance, and setting them to music. So we have actually a number of works which will be world premieres, literally written specifically for us, all setting the text of Black poets, as well as beautiful, beautiful art songs from the history, from the tradition of Black music by Black composers.
Ooh, I can't wait. That sounds wonderful. So that's going to be at RCC on the 18th. Like I said, I'll be there. I can't miss it. This is my new home, you guys.
Excellent.
This is my new home. So now I have a composer home and I have a jazz home.
Excellent.
So I'm happy about that. Are you, Anthony, going to be doing special pieces?
Well,
that you've composed yourself?
On this program, I will not have any original works, but I'll be playing piano. And I will have original works on our program in June, which I can speak just a little bit about. It'll be at the Museum of African American History, which is our second partner.
Oh, okay.
And this program explores how the modern prison system in the United States is an extension of slavery. Yes.
Okay, I'm hearing that.
But for the Night Songs concert next week, I will be playing piano, and I'm very happy to be so involved in these pieces and to just immerse myself in this music and the text and seeing how these composers fit the words with the music so geniusly. It's really, really wonderful stuff.
Oh, I can't wait. How large will the orchestra be that night?
So everything is chamber music, so it's incredibly intimate. The words obviously are very intimate.
Right.
The relationship between the poet and the composer is very intimate. And then certainly with the musicians on the stage, which range anywhere from 2, literally just solo piano and then a solo voice singing together, to as large as 7. So everything is on a very small scale and a very intimate scale. Also, the program will have, before the program and after the program, we'll do a little bit of a Q&A with the composers and with the poets, as well as the musicians who are there. And then from us, the Coos crew, I like to call us, or the creative team.
Do tell me about the Coos crew.
We have also a video, a little montage behind the artists. So you'll be able to hear more candidly us speaking about our relationship and the work that we're doing and the meaning behind why we're doing what we're doing and the collaborative efforts between us and certainly between the composers and between the poets and between the musicians. So you'll get a real intimate look at us Castle of Erskines, as well as the
Yes.
music that we're performing, as well as the composers that we're working with, the poets. So the whole evening will be quite intimate on a very small scale.
Small scale. Adrienne and Seychelle, are you guys going to be doing any stuff there?
Well, we will be there to support our Coos Collective because with art songs, it has the genre of music that we're tapping into for next week. We are wind players, and this is more of strings and piano and voice.
Okay.
So, but I know I'm more than happy, I know Adrienne is more than happy for us to be there and just be able to support all the musicians and the mission of this organization. We will also be hosting a reception, so I know I'm really excited about that. So, but when we do these types of concerts, it's just about being able to share these works and this legacy of these composers with the community in any arrangement that we're able to do that as different types of musical families that each of us have. So, yeah.
And I should also say that both Seychelle and Adrienne, there's very much like any other organization. It's like an iceberg, and you see the concert, which is the little tiny tip, but there is so much work underneath the water.
And I understand that.
For all of us, and certainly Seychelle and Adrienne, so much work and blood, sweat, and tears before that with marketing, and then with
blood, sweat, and tears.
getting the reception food and things like this, and bringing the audience. I mean, so much work beforehand that they are absolutely doing. So
Working very hard.
next week would certainly not happen without the two of them.
Definitely.
And I am looking very much forward to it. But before we run out of time, Miss Ash has got some poetry for us.
Sure, yeah. I wanted to share a little bit
Yes.
for next week. So every year we have a call for proposals. Composers all over the world. I think we had submissions from someone in Brazil and someone in Berlin, around the US as well. And every year we encourage composers of all races, nationalities, ethnicities to dive into Black culture. So the theme for this concert is poetry by Black poets, set to music. So we had this international call, composers to dig deep, and for some of them it was, I already know a number of Black poets, and for others it was scratching their head and starting this research. But in any case, the thought of encouraging that kind of curiosity into Black artistry is what Castle of Erskines is all about. Exactly. So we will be premiering some of those works from those composers who were interested and wrote music specifically for us. And I wanted to share a little bit of them. So one is by Samuel Beebe, who wrote a beautiful set of songs inspired by Sonia Sanchez, who is a poet, activist, author.
Yes,
Beautiful poetry. And she wrote an epic poem called Does Your House Have Lions? And this poem talks about her experience, her family experience, going through a time of being estranged and then coming back, focused around her brother, who went to New York City and was very much in at the time, the subculture of homosexuality in New York City. And at the height of the AIDS epidemic, contracted AIDS and then eventually passed. So for his family, her family, Sonia Sanchez's family, to come apart and then come together through through his life, basically. Okay. So I wanted to read a little bit of that poem.
We'd love to hear.
There's 7 different movements, and each one kind of progresses through life. But I'll just read 2.
Oh, okay.
I linger in stethoscopes and thermometers at Lenox Hill. I have entered the hospital to test, the cough and temperature making me ill. I have entered this hospital to rest, and all I have discovered is unrest. The doctor says happily it is not pneumonia or cancer. The doctor says my temperature is like a trickster. And this is him going to the hospital and realizing that he, in fact, does have AIDS. He's HIV positive. And a little bit of sort of a final movement when the family comes back together. Oh, forgive me, mother. Oh, forgive me, father. Oh, forgive me, sister. Oh, forgive me, fever. Oh, forgive me, tremor. Oh, forgive me, rumor. Oh, forgive me, terror. Dress me in white, not hospital white. Dress me in white, in white of my ancestors, of Sai Baba's white, of my morning's white, of my spirit's white. Hold me in air, breathe me with air, sponge me with air, whisper me with air, comb me, brush me, rinse me with air. I come, doctor, manginio, which means it is necessary, captor. I come, inventor, it is necessary, censor. I come, preacher, I come, confessor, I come, ancestor, I come. Eventually he dies and is realizing, forgive me, my family, let's reconcile, and with ancestry as he ascends to heaven.
Yes.
So this is one poem that is really, really beautifully, exquisitely set.
I love that.
And written specifically for Castle of Our Skins. Others include poetry by Cornelius Eady, who's a 2-time Pulitzer nominee. Beautiful, beautiful poetry. Another young poet, Ricky Laurentis, who is based in New York and wrote a poem about his family experience with Hurricane Katrina. And again, this feeling of something so devastating happening to an entire community. And then not so much about the devastation, but the resilience of that community and the strength of coming back together is what that poem is
That's
about.
very interesting because you're talking about Katrina. I had seen a couple of programs, a couple of documentaries from actors whose families were in Katrina and how they came back and were helping to build whole streets, you know, because like government wasn't helping,
Yeah.
you know.
Yep.
They weren't helping, and it's like to actually know that there were performers, you know, artists, you know, actors and actresses who were out there, who had families there, and knew within themselves that they had not only that energy, but they had the financial withal to go and help, you know, whole communities, to help to rebuild. And that was like the most wonderful thing, you know. And I'm saying, and that made me think differently about, you know, black actors and actresses, you know, and it was like, wow, they really do care about their communities, you know, and from whence they came. And to listen, but now just to listen to that poem that you just read and talking about, you know, HIV and AIDS, I was at a program last night about that, you know, and so many things happen, and writing and art being a part of who we are as a people and our ancestry, you know, and our culture, and to listen to that, you know, a way of expression. And that's kind of what Voices of Sisterhood is, you know, bringing out a voice that's down there and nobody knows it's down there, you know. And I feel really, you know, blessed that I can do this. And it's something I've been working towards for a couple of few years now. And I'm glad that I've met you all, which means that that's even better. I mean, my biggest thing with Castles of Our Skin is the fact that I never knew about black composers.
Yeah.
I never knew. You know, it was like, really?
But you're
like
not
I
alone.
said, the only one I knew was Scott Joplin.
You're not alone
You're
in
not
that.
alone.
And
know?
You are not alone.
Not at all.
And then to find out when she mentioned the library, I had no idea that. Well, of course, if I didn't know
About
about
composers,
composers, I would have known that there was actually a library, and for all genres of music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, wow, unbelievable.
And with both Anthony and my background, conservatory trained.
Yeah. So you guys got
Between
that ear and that eye.
Well, between the two of us, I think we could maybe when we started list 5 Black composers, and it's even for us being invested in classical music. Seychelle actually is doing a lot of work right now, writing transcriptions on Black composers for wind instruments, and Adrienne has researched so much wind music by Black composers, and the information is there. It just takes
time,
and
it's like, where do you begin? Like, for instance, the library. Do they have a website?
They do.
Yes, they do.
They do?
CBMR is their sort of nickname, but Center for Black Music Research.
So they do. I wanted to ask that question because I wanted to know. I'd like to go in and be nosy and do a little research on my own.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
Please, yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
Well, I must admit, it's been wonderful. I can't wait to the 18th. I am glad that I got to have the three of you all on the show. It's wonderful. I have 2 questions. Actually, I have 1 question for each, Adrienne and Seychelle.
Sure.
I know you put together programs and you guys do workshops. As part of COOS, I'm going to stop using that name. As part of COOS, are you all going to do programs? I'm trying to get this out. Do orchestra events? That's what I wanted to ask. Will you guys be part of the events as being musicians, or is being part of, besides doing what you all do, your prospective roles? Will you guys ever be being part of the orchestra, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
We've been looking at repertoire. Obviously, when Ash and Anthony started, they were very heavily string and piano based, and then we come on and we're like, what about winds? So we're taking a look at that, and we'll see what the future holds.
All right. Well, I want to thank Seychelle, Adrienne, Anthony, and Ash for being on Artists of Color and being with me this afternoon. I was very excited to have you all on, and it's just been wonderful, and the conversation's been great and enlightening and rewarding. And I can't wait to see you guys on the 18th. I'll be there. Thank you, everyone out there, for watching Artists of Color. And we will see you again, I think in May. We're going to be out for a while, but we'll see you guys again in May. Thank you and have a great afternoon.